Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Parent Pivot Podcast. I'm Steve Cummings.
And I'm Julia Cummings.
And like we always like to do, thank you. We want to thank our audience. Just you guys have been so faithful. We're hearing so much from everybody on different subjects and things. And so we are grateful for that because you're giving us content to speak to. So please don't stop direct messaging us on our social media platforms. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything's at Parent Pivot Podcast, as well as emailing us. We're here to respond to emails, and we're hearing from quite a few of you. We're very grateful for that.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing us as well. We're watching our audience grow. If you haven't already and you're on YouTube, hit that little subscribe thing right there. Share us on your media platforms, and let's see what God will do. We're here to minister to parents of adult children and help them pivot. So, sweetheart, having said all that, what are we talking about today?
Well, first, I just want to say we are traveling this week, both of us, different directions. I'm going to California to visit grandbabies and my son and daughter-in-law and friends, hopefully get to the beach one day. And you are doing work things going toward.
I'm traveling to the great state of Tennessee.
Yeah. So we're going to do 2 podcasts in a row. So we're going to be wearing the same clothes. That was the whole point of me.
Sorry for you YouTube watchers. I'm like, why did they need to know this?
Because
that's like totally me. Too much information. Like they're gonna go, hey, wait a minute, let's go back to the last YouTube. Look, they're wearing the same clothes.
Well, I just was thinking about that, I might take off my jacket, but anyway.
That's only when our daughter has us doing social media stuff that she goes, okay, go change clothes.
Yeah, she does. She has this.
And I'm staring at carpenter bees outside my window. I really want to take a fly swatter to them because it's that time of season again. They drive me nuts.
Yes, they do.
And as much as I'm trying to be unoffendable, they offend me.
Anyway, what we're talking about today, what we wanted to talk about is, so we do a lot of talking about, kind of just owning our stuff and, not saying too much and things like that. What I'm finding is I end up with having a conversation with somebody that they all of a sudden sound very insecure, and they'll ask me, Julia, did I blow it? Did I do something wrong? And you can just see the fear,
anxiety, insecurity.
Yeah.
I want to get this right. I don't know if I did it right.
And you know what? We're not always going to get it right.
Nope.
And that's the thing.
Nope.
We may have to go back again and again and apologize.
This is why we have a podcast.
Yes, this is why we have a podcast.
Mostly I haven't done it right.
Because we all struggle with all of these things. So the people I want to really talk to today are those that are walking in fear and on eggshells all the time. Because that can be just as detrimental. If I am an adult child, and I feel like we've kind of covered this before, but we haven't done like a podcast where we only talked about this. So, but if I am an adult child who has power over my parents, because I know, I see their insecurity, I see how badly they want to have my attention, my approval, my relationship. And when I see that over and over and over again, we talked about this, I think, even in the last podcast, the power differential of what happens. But that's on them if they do that. But we need to talk to you about how you are handling that. We need to talk to you about that fear inside of you and the insecurity that will naturally bleed out of you that everybody can read because I'm trying so hard to not do anything wrong. And if you think about, you might have had a child like this, you may have been a child like this, but the child who lives in fear of their parent to some degree, and you can call it respect, they respect their parent, but they are so afraid of doing the wrong thing. I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit.
Okay, get ready. We're going to hear a thump. Here it comes, everybody. Steve under the bus. Go ahead, sweetheart.
When Steve used to work, he would come home, and he wasn't a tyrant or anything, but just naturally out of us wanting to please him, I think all of us felt a stress. And when our son was old enough, we've talked a lot about Jackson, our son, who Steve had a kind of a rocky road with a little bit. When he got a little older and he could kind of verbalize better, one thing he said was, I dreaded hearing
The
the
garage door
garage
go up.
door go up because you look around and you go, what's he going to be upset about? And again, Steve wasn't coming home as some tyrant, but there was this overwhelming sense of displeasure that somehow we weren't going to please him, or he was going to be in a bad mood coming home from work or whatever. You are doing that same thing with your adult child, where you are, okay, am I doing everything right? Did I get it right? Did I say that right? And that is not healthy. Do you have anything to say about that?
I will here in a second. That carpenter bee is really distracting me.
Stop looking
Okay.
outside.
All right. Yeah, I think for me, I was so focused on responsibility and making sure that they were doing things to bring my anxiety level down. That unbeknownst to me, I was creating eggshells for them when I came home.
Right.
And there's if you want to listen to that podcast, it's the one that says I'm going to the sidelines, and that's where we interview Jackson. It's actually our second most popular podcast that people listen to. So there's a lot of healing in that story. But yeah, I think at that time, I wasn't doing any work on myself as far as understanding my heart. So I lead from responsibility. I lead from making sure we do it right. I want to raise a family that's picking up after themselves and whatever. And I wasn't just relaxing and being who I was. And that
right.
That created anxiety in my children.
Exactly. So
did you hear the thump back there before? Yeah.
So anyway. we don't want to be like that. Our children, when he would come home from work, where they were, I hate to use this word scared, but it caused their anxiety level to rise of, what have we done things right? Is dad going to be pleased? And again, we can do the same thing with our adult children, where we are constantly asking that question. Am I getting it right? Do I do it right? Blah, 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 blah. And we are in constant fear and anxiety of perhaps losing that relationship. And I know I've shared before that I have lived in that space. I'm not sure it's gone, because every time something happens.
Well, you're a peacemaker.
I'm a peacemaker. I'm a 9 on the Enneagram. I am a peacemaker. So
you're 10 and 10 are always up.
Yeah.
Always looking in every situation. You're reading the room, you're reading eyebrows, you're reading facial things and whatever. And that's just, she has to kind of let go of that and go, whoa. But then she'll go, oh, this happened. And she's put together the narrative without ever having a conversation.
Right.
And by the way, did you hear the thump there? I just threw you under the bus. I didn't mean to.
Equal the thumps today. So all of that to say, when I am in that space, that is not healthy for me. And I know I told the story a couple of weeks ago when we were interviewing the Davises.
Yes.
Where I talked about our vacation and how I responded to, oh my gosh, I've got a child that's not pleased right now. Or it wasn't even that they had expressed not being pleased. It was my fear that they weren't pleased. Right. And it took over. And I began in a panic because, again, I can go to catastrophizing.
Well, we all do. Yeah. We all go to catastrophizing. We've talked about that before in the podcast. We're like going, okay, I've got to behave in a certain way with my adult children, because if I don't, then. So if you're playing that if I don't do something, then that will happen, that's a lie.
Right.
Those are a lie. You put in an if and a then. If this happens, then that will happen.
Right.
Lies. Call it a lie. Don't speak that over yourself, over your family, over your adult children. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Is it a lie?
It's a lie. Let me say it one more time. It's a lie.
Well, so I'm going to use myself as an example again. It doesn't matter what their age is. I don't care if you've got an 18-year-old or a 50-year-old or older. You can still experience this and live in fear of this. And I have talked to a lot of adult parents who it does not matter what the age of their kids are. But I will tell you, the piece that is the same in all those instances is insecurity in the parent. It's usually a mom, and maybe that's just because I talk to women more. Um, but it's usually a mom that is afraid of upsetting her adult child. And part of that could be because adult children can be scary. They they can be mean, they can be narcissistic
And if
sometimes.
you're conflict avoider, it makes it even worse.
Oh yeah. Um, adult children can be bigger than you, where, if you've got an adult male son, that it actually can be a physical fear. There are a lot of things there that can be going on, but I will tell you, it's always the same thing. So I'm going to give an example, and I know I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. When my two oldest boys were maybe college age, I was working on my master's. And I remember I was going off to school one night, and I do not remember what the situation was. My second oldest was at a stage, he was probably, how old would he have been? He would have been probably 19, 20, probably. And they were still living at home. And he was in this, I want you, I don't want you, I want you, I don't want you. And it was this push pull. I need a mom, I want a mom. No, get out of my face. I don't want you, mom. And this one night where I was going off to school and I lost it. And both those two older boys were sitting in a bedroom, and I walked in and I basically just gave them the what for. Now, mind you, I came to them with confidence. I probably spoke too loudly, but yet I knew I needed to, because my kids have a tendency, when I get really
They
upset,
start laughing at her.
they start laughing. They think
They go,
it's
"Look at
funny
mom."
because it's out
Yeah.
of character.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I just basically told them, and again, it came with confidence. It wasn't a meek mother coming to them and saying, okay, blah, 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 blah. I came to them and I said, I am your mom. You are living in this house. I am your mom no matter what. That's never going to change. So get over it if you want it to change. And if you don't like me being mom, then get out of the house. Go find a place to live, and you can live on your own. And I said that very much that way, the way I'm talking right
You
now.
did.
And
if you're sitting there listening to that going, oh, I could never do that, because if I do that, then this, that's not what happens. All of a sudden, your respect goes up like, hey, mom's got a backbone.
Yeah.
Wow. And all of a sudden, my respect goes up because she's speaking for who she is, and she's laying it on the line. And any man who hears a woman like that is going to kind of like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. So, but again, that piece that mattered in that instance was my confidence. This is who I am. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. And if you don't like it, go. Now, mind you, within the context of what I'm saying, I wasn't over parenting. So there is that piece. And again, there's this constant battle or balance that has to happen. But I was not in their business. I wasn't doing whatever. I can't even remember actually what the situation was, but that wasn't my nature to kind of overparent. They might tell you something different about that. But if I had come to them and said that in the context of, look, I'm going to tell you who to date, whether you like it or not, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just normal, everyday parent kind of stuff. Like, this is my house. This is the way we do it. I don't want the TV on right now because I've got other kids in school. It could have been something simple like that. It could have been they didn't like what I cooked.
Right. And that's what obviously we're referring to a stage in life where the adult children, like two of them were adults, the other two were not.
Right.
If we're looking at 18 as being that cutoff point, 18 to 20, actually God says it's 20. So anyway, but if we got adult children that are out of the house,
Yeah.
same thing applies.
Yeah. Like, I'm never going to stop being, we are never going to stop being mom and dad. That means we're going to be concerned about you. That means we're going to pray for you, whether you believe it or not, or don't like it or not.
Right.
These are the things we do because we are your parents. And I'm sorry if you don't like it, but that's who we are. And that's what we're going to do.
And really, we're talking about just gaining some more confidence. We're not saying become authoritarian
No.
or change your personality. We're asking you to step into who you are and not worry about how it's going to impact things, because we're going to catastrophize inside for keeping us from doing it.
Yep.
If I do this, then that we've already got the narrative going. And what we're saying is throw that narrative in the trash. It's all worry and fear. Okay. Mm-hmm. And just be more confident. We're really talking about being confident and secure in who you are and conveying that, and watch, and watch what's the changes.
I'll give you another example of this. I know a mom who cries easily and she gets emotional, and one of her kids doesn't like that. They can't stand it when she cries. And so what we were talking about is how to convey to those around her, not even just her kids, but anyone, that it's okay that I cry. And it's actually a sign of strength. It's not a weakness. I have the ability to cry. I do cry. It's meaningful for me. It is an outlet. It shows how much I care. It shows how much I love you. And so to be confident in that and just let the people know, this is who I am. I'm going to cry. I'm sorry you don't like it right now. In the course of this conversation, I'm probably going to cry because that's who I am. So that's the kind of confidence that I'm talking about, is being confident that this is who I am. I can't apologize for this. And I'm the same way, right? I cry all the time. So I can't apologize for that. That is honestly how God made me.
But a lot of it too is your empathy, because you can
Yes.
so quickly put yourself in someone's other shoes. It's not necessarily some words that are hurting you. A lot of it is just like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad about that, and you're living and experiencing it as if you were that person.
Right. And sometimes people who are more emotional, like myself, sometimes we cry just because the topic is deep. Stop looking at the bees.
I'm going to make that carpenter bee cry is what I'm thinking right now.
Oh my gosh.
It's driving me nuts. Okay, sorry.
Anyway, now I lost my train of thought. So anyway, just being confident of, I was talking about this. Sometimes I cry because the conversation is just a deep conversation. I know it's an important conversation, and it makes me emotional. I did that on the podcast one day. We were talking about, that was kind of an empathy thing. We're talking about parents whose kids weren't talking to them anymore. And I felt that very deeply. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. I feel things very deeply.
So anyway, walking on eggshells, if you're always feeling like, I don't know if I should text my adult child or they text me or things like that. And you know what, I'd say before even doing that, invite the father into that space, and pray about that, saying, show me how to be that mother, that father that's confident in who you created me to be, and leave the results up to you. I mean, everything about life is, we're not responsible or in charge of results of things. And I heard my coach the other day, as I was in a coaching session, talk about that, saying, I'm responsible for demonstrating and communicating, and he's responsible for the results. Okay, so that's the kind of, I guess it's having confidence in the Lord and who he created you to be, and coming across that way in your marriage, in your work relationships, your family relationships, and letting those results be those results, and not being afraid of what you think those results may be. I think that's a part of it, is if I do this, and again, this is where the catastrophizing goes, then that will happen. Those ifs and thens, as soon as we're thinking that or saying that, then we've created a narrative, and already we've formed, oh, this is what's going to happen, things. And 99% of the time, it does not happen that way.
Right.
So we need to kind of break that chain, because that's the way the evil one wants to get in our head. And he does it quite often and quite effectively. to keep us paralyzed and keep us insecure. Because if we're insecure, then we won't have healthy relationships. So if we want healthy relationships, not with our spouses, with our work relationships, family, extended family, whatever, we have to, the shoulds, the if-thens, those don't have any play in the kingdom of God.
And all of this within the context of keeping your mouth shut when it's not our business. So, if you haven't heard the first few podcasts, go listen to those.
We're like on about 110, 112 right in there. So
or even the one with Jim Burns. We talk a lot of
Yes.
specifics in that one. Again, it's a balancing act. It's not being too much or too little. It's figuring this out. But what we're talking about today is being confident in who you are, not in who you are telling your child what to do. It is just in who you are, aside from that.
Sweep up those eggshells.
Yeah. I really don't have more to say than that.
Okay. Well, good.
Well, good. You know what?
Yeah. I'm going to go get that pesky carpenter bee here as soon as we hang up and stuff, because it's driving me nuts.
Okay.
He does damage to the house. He wants to burrow into the wood.
We have a lot of wood decks.
If you could see the view we have on the other side of the screen, we've got 2 acres. It's grass, deer. We have a male and female geese that come. We call them Gary and Gertrude, right?
Gary and Gertie.
Gary and Gertie. We've named our 2 geese. And what's funny is one of them was laying in the shade today, and one was laying in the sun. I went, I'll bet you that's Gertie in the sun, and that's Gary in the shade, because men want shade, and I don't know. I'm not saying men want shade, but anyway. We're getting off topic, but thank you.
We're really off topic today. We're all over the place.
Thank you for listening to us as we got thrown under the bus. We've talked openly about how to take care of the eggshells in a relationship, being more confident. Thank you for rating and liking us on whatever platform you're on. And, we'll be back next time. And you can even put a note in, hey, Steve, did you get the carpenter bee? Because that's what I'm going to go do as soon as we hang up here. So thanks for joining us. We're going to see you next week on the Parent Pivot Podcast.
Bye.
I'm going to get that pesky bee.